Dr. Rodney, when you are ready to present, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lauren. And I'm honestly having goosebumps for multiple different reasons. Just listen to that powerful tribute from Ina, but the minute Gwen opened her mouth, I'm like, she's Jamaican. And I didn't have to Google or anything, but I feel like I've missed out. And I'll be honest with you, these last couple months have been in a space of asking myself that question. If today were it, would it have been enough? And that's what I want to challenge your women to think about today. If this were it, would it have been enough? And to follow up, did you do everything you wanted to do? I am 100% sure that most of you are going to say no. And I'm saying no. But I'm saying no because we always feel like we need to give a little bit more. And I know we're supposed to be in the realm of resilience, and that's not what I'm starting out with. But the reason resilience has been one of the things I've worked on really, really hard is because it's so very difficult to describe. People describe it differently, and that's fine. But I want us to go all the way back. Many times you're thinking, okay, just tell me how I need to be resilient. Give me some examples. Should I eat better? Should I run? Yes, yes, and yes. But start by thinking about, why is it that we need to be resilient in the first place? Why is there this construct of being resilient? Is it that we're always up against difficult things, particularly as women? Why is that so? And so I like the way I used to study is I think of a picture that would help me remember every single thing I need to remember for an exam. And so today, after we leave here, I'm going to share with you a few pictures, which I want you to hold on to and think about what that means for you. The first one is hurdles. Being Jamaican, one of the things that we love is athletics, and not like I could run. No, I'm not taking any claims, but one of the events that is quite difficult is the hurdles, and there's different formats, 100-meter hurdle, 400-meter hurdles. The point is that they put a number of barriers in front of you, so you need to get over them to get to the end. And very frequently, I think as women, we start out with multiple hurdles in life. The question is, why are they there? I have been tested with this. I had my first child while I was trying to complete my PhD, and it felt like everything was wrong. I wasn't supposed to be doing this. And I stopped and thought, why is it so hard? It's not hard because of the baby. The baby is not the issue, but there's nothing socially that said you were supposed to do all the things that you can do and still be successful as women, to still get into a professional realm. And by that, I mean, society has dictated that we are the primary care providers. And so therefore, you're going to bear the brunt of the burden. And I'm not going to put the exceptions of the fabulous partners that we have that help, or the village that helps us to raise. The point is that as the person who is going to bear the child, you're left with that responsibility. There goes one hurdle, which tells you, okay, maybe I need to wait for the time to do this degree. Maybe I need to take care of the kids first. Maybe I need to stop and start again. But socially, there's not enough resources in place that says that this is something that you can do with everything else and still be successful. Think about when we had the right to vote. Think about the fact that currently, not historically, men are paid more than women. Why is that is the question. The answer isn't very simple, but I'm just asking you to recognize that while we push to be resilient, there's multiple factors that have been put in place in a social and historical construct that is preventing us from doing so. And regardless of how you push, until some of those are taken down, you don't have your full capacity to be successful. The 100-meter versus the 400-meter hurdles is just the length. Think about a person who would live to be 40 versus 80 and how many hurdles they're going to face. Those hurdles don't go away, so it makes it a little bit more. So what we need to learn is how to jump hurdles. So none of you go today and go start hurdling and tell me that Tamar said you should be jumping hurdles. That's not what I mean. But until some of those barriers are taken down, what we have to push ourselves to do is to learn how to jump those. And if there's one person who can do it, I'm going to challenge it to say it's you. And you can do it because you're prepared and you know that there is a hurdle in front of you. Therefore, instead of walking up to it, I'm going to do a sprint and then jump. So don't wait for those barriers to be taken down. It's a matter of being self-assured, being self-aware, and knowing how to respond. My next picture I would like to share with you is a garage. So think about it, all of you, and you can put in the chat. I would love to see what is currently in your garage. And I'm going to just look through the chat to see what is currently in your garage. Okay, keep going. I see one brave soul told us. Okay, keep going. All right, one car and things. Don't have one. All right, in my dreams. Okay. All right. So for those of you who don't have a garage yet, imagine you have a fabulous house outside with a 2-car garage. And I use these analogies because they're easy to think about in a very specific way, and we all make these mistakes. So it's a generalizable is what I'm going to say. Traditionally, it's meant to hold a car and a few other things. That's what we're going to go. Most people, even though you have a car in there, where's the other car, or where's the car? It's parked outside, isn't it? It's parked outside in front of the garage. Boxes with the love letters from X. Oh, beautiful. It's a good way to, that's a good place to keep them. So somebody said, I think I would have the cleanest garage because I don't like clutter. So there, and that's wonderful. I'm going to come to your garage because I have the car in there and I have everything else in mine. Everything is, I squeeze it. But again, here is this box that we've been given. There's a reason why the car can't go in the garage. Either because you needed the space for something else. Sometimes it's too small. Sometimes you buy the house with a garage and it's split in two and you're like, why didn't they just make a big gate so I could put this large vehicle inside? The things that we want, the things that we deserve, aren't necessarily the things that we have been pushed towards to get. So you want the large car to hold in the garage, but the garage don't fit, but you have other things in there as well. The question you need to ask yourself, what do I need to take out? What should I be taking out? Am I buying the right car? If I really want the car to be in the garage, do I have the right car? Why is it that the love letters are there and not the car? And again, I'm going to go out a lemon here. Lawn equipment, have lots of lawn equipment in there, and I don't do the lawn. I think I just buy them with good hopes. But in all seriousness, I'm gonna say to you, you know, in this attempt to be resilient, why it is so difficult is because one of the things we don't realize is how many things are in our way. Why we can't put this car in the garage. Some of them are put in there by others. So there are other persons who have put up roadblocks for you. Some of them you have put in. You have put the things in that garage that is preventing you from doing the things that you want to do. And the ultimate goal is to have the car in a protected space. So if there is hail, it's good. If there is snow, you don't need to scrape it off. But there's another part that I want to pull you back to is you buy a house with a 2 single door, but if they had taken down the door, you would have held it, but that is how it's structured. So let's go back to the first one is what you are putting in that shouldn't be there. Think about the things that you need to remove, that you have control over, that you should be removing to get to the thing that you want, to get to be more resilient, to get to the place that you need to be. So that's number one. So that is within your control. Throw out the old boxes. We're not using them. We don't need the letters from the X anymore. It's done. It's gone. If you have 2 lawnmowers, do you really need 2 lawnmowers? You need one that works really well. Take it out. The point is that you have control over some of the things that you need to take out. Number two is the other things that people put in there. The neighbor who asked you to keep 6 boxes until they sort out their lives. It's been 2 years. Those need to go. Think about the people in your lives that you need to get rid of. You know, there's some relationships that we need to cut ties with. There are some situationships that need to no longer be a situation. And there are some things in there that just needs to go. But again, you have that power. Self-awareness about what is happening and making a decision to remove those is one way to get there. And if you don't, we still can't park the car in the garage. But number three, and is probably the most difficult one, but recognizing it is where you give yourself power, is you can't have a, what's a large car? Let's say a Chevy Tahoe. Those are large. I don't have one, but I think those are large. You can't put a Chevy Tahoe in a single space door. It's just not going to work. And so tell me if this is not the time to say, I need a different garage. I need a different house, actually. And these are the fundamental changes that you will need to make because the current situation does not work for you. But until those pieces are removed, by golly, you won't be putting any car in a garage. So as much as we get, or buy a smaller car, if your goal is intentionally to do that, I like how you guys are thinking. If your goal is to do that, then you have to make these changes, but being aware of them is the key point here. Be aware of the things that are in your control to remove, because if you're not, then we're not going to get the car in the garage. We're going to be always on the outside thinking about how to be resilient, knowing that we're in full control, but we just can't get there. We just can't. My third picture I would like to bring into mind is a tree in spring. And I have severe allergies to pollen, so don't necessarily like these trees outside that are blooming. I do not. I kind of want them to just go away for a while. But it's a pretty picture that I want you to keep in mind, one that is in full bloom. And so the one I'm choosing is a cherry blossom. Yeah, it's just so brutal. See someone say I sneeze a lot. It's so brutal. I literally hide out in the house some days and I tell myself that, okay, people look at me. I look like an abused woman. At least one eye is, I've been abused by pollen. But think about this beautiful tree that is in full bloom. Many times we are saying to ourselves, you know, as a professional woman, I need to have this role and I need to be anchored and I need to grow and I need to. But being in that professional role is not enough. Where did this beautiful blooming tree start from? It's a seedling that sprouted the first 2 leaves, and very frequently that's where it stops. That is exactly where it stops, but some people say that's growth. Yes, it's growth, but it's not the end all. And so being resilient, again, what I'm saying to you, it's not good enough to grow. And I kind of want you to repeat that. It's not good enough to grow. It's not good enough to just be able to brace the barriers or say, okay, I know what to do. You need to be able to not just grow, but thrive and blossom and grow again. That is what needs to happen. You need to be in full bloom, which essentially reach your maximum potential. So when we think about resilience, sometimes we think about, okay, if I can just weather this storm, and you sit back and you're like, all right, I did it. No, you didn't. You just weathered the storm. So take away the, I'm going to use the term shackles, throw them off. But after you throw them off, don't just stand there. No, you need to run and get over that hurdle one by one by one. And take a deep breath to say, yes, I need to thrive. Thriving is the goal, to not just be resilient and being self-aware, to get to the point of, okay, I'm in a role. It's not good enough. And I'll share with you, I currently have an assistant professor position at Hopkins. The title sounds fancy, but I'm telling you, it doesn't tell you half of what I do. And when I interviewed for this job, they said to me, what would you like to do? Tell me what in a perfect day. And I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have asked me that because I'm going to tell you everything. And I'm like, I want to practice. I want to see my patients. I want to do research and I want to teach. And they said to me, okay. I'm like, really? Okay. You mean I don't have to choose? Sometimes it's a matter of saying what you want. Put words to that inner voice to say, I want to be a great wife, a great partner, an exceptional mom, and I also want to be a professional. The question we often ask ourselves, can we do all of those? Please tell me everybody's saying to yourselves, absolutely yes. I know you know this. I'm not telling you anything revolutionary, but a simple thing that I would tell my students is trying to explain something to me, draw it out, because draw it out and tell me how it's going to go step by step. One, I'll understand it, but two, it forces you to put in all the pieces you want. Put voice, real voice, to the things you want and don't hold back. This is where you say everything you want, and with the knowledge that yes, you can have it all. You're not greedy. It's not revolutionary. It's out there because yes, you can have it. But you're not going to get it if you don't say you want it and if you don't do the things to get them. So again, it's the first piece. You see the hurdle. You know what you need to do. You're like, okay, we're not going to step over this one because I can't get over the next one. So therefore, I am going to sprint, jump, sprint, jump. Work it out in your mind, because what I need to get is down to that part where I can have these 4 roles successfully. So my picture of resilience is often, I see someone says the fear that keeps us from saying it. And that is absolutely yes. You think I am going to go out there and say I'm going to jump in the hurdles. Oh no, because I'm thinking if I fall, I'm going to bruise my knee and maybe I can't wear the skirts I want to wear and everything else blocks my mind. How about, oh yes, if I jump, I can jump the next one and the next one. So the fear that holds us back sometimes is exactly what prevents us from saying it. The fear of what is going to happen if we don't get over the first hurdle. You know what you do then? Walk back and go even faster the next time. That is literally how you get over it. So I'm going back to say to you, it's not enough to just be. It's not enough to just say, I am a professional. It's not enough to just take on the role of, I am expected to be the homemaker because historically that is how I was seen. I'm expected to stay at home and take care of the kids. And the minute I say that I'm going to be a professional, then we have all these barriers in place. Step back and say, I can have it all because I deserve it, because I want it. Actually, just because. Try to remember what Gwen said. I'm so happy that I got a chance to hear that recording. I love you. It can stop right there. Not because I want to. That's it. Because I want to. I like to think because I deserve it. And that's frequently what I tell myself, because I deserve it. So that pushes me to get to a little bit more. I'm not going to talk for the entire time, because what I would love, I work with a really difficult crowd, and that's women who are recovering from substance use. And I think when I try to explain the concept of resilience, they might be the most resilient group. And they're always telling me no. I'm like, actually, you have to be. Because if you're telling me that you can fail 15 times and you're still here, you are probably one of the most resilient person I know, because you refuse to give up. So I'm going to stop speaking for now and just open the floor for some questions, and for you to share in this open space about what does it take to be not just resilient, but to thrive. Because hearing each other say it sometimes is exactly what we need for the boost to keep going, to get to that point of where we need to go. I wonder where we would be if fear didn't get in the way. I was going to say we would go to the moon, but we've actually been there. So can you imagine? And I mean women, we've actually been there. But fear is often the thing that prevents us. Nothing beats a trial but a failure. That's what my grandmother said, not my words. And I'm sure somebody has told her that. And it's really giving you permission to fail. It's not giving you permission to do. It says you have permission to fail. The thing that will be gut-wrenching is that if you didn't try, that is when you have actually failed. When you didn't try, when you weren't prepared to go get the bruise. You weren't prepared to fall. I'm like, I might fall, but it tells me the next strides I need to take to get over that hurdle. That's literally what it tells you. And if there's nothing you remember about today, the one thing I want you to remember is that it's not good enough to grow. That's not where it stops. It's very poignant in my head because under the basement, I'm trying to plant some carrots and beans and stuff. And I feel extremely proud of myself because they've started to sprout. And I'm like, hold on, we're not even close yet. I need to transplant. I need to put them in their own earth to grow. And they need to actually give me some carrots now. So again, it's not good enough that the seed didn't start. That's not where it stopped. Someone in the chat says, fear is really false evidence appearing real. Fear is a dream killer. It stops you from even dreaming. You don't even want to dream anymore. And fear is the one thing I would want you to think about is fear is not just what you put on yourself. There are multiple other people, just like in that garage, people giving you these boxes to take up your space. And the door that was never meant for your car anyway. Those are some of the people around you, things around you that are giving you that fear, like, what if? And who is, as if your role was only to be the childcare pick-upper. So who is going to do this? So when is dinner going to be ready? Some very archaic way of thinking that continues. It's unbelievable sometimes when you think about it in 2022 that these still perpetuate themselves. Your father's words to me, did you do your best? And I ask myself this and can move ahead if success or fail. My best is my best and that's enough. Yeah. That is where it needs to be. I heard someone open the microphone. I'm not sure who that is.
Hi, Dr. Rodney. I think one thing I was just mentioning was that I think as women, sometimes we feel a little bit of guilt about wanting it all and I guess the onus of having it all. So I wanted you to maybe talk to us a little bit about that. How do we balance? Because I literally hear women feel bad if they feel that they're having it all and balancing it all and maybe people around them are not, et cetera. How do we deal with that?
That's fantastic. And thank you for saying that. And let's go back to the question about these people around us who will give us judgment and pause. If today were the last day, would it have been enough? Because you're not asking those other persons, you're asking yourself, did I do enough? Was it enough? Did I get everything I wanted? And in that moment, the person you're asking is you, because it needs to be okay with you. But guilt is actually a very good thing. It is a good thing because it checks your emotions. It tells you that you have things to balance. So when I feel guilt or fear or this self-worth, it's a moment for me to stop and check to say, what is it that I'm feeling so guilty about? Is it because I'm not home early enough? What I personally struggle with is spending that extra hour at the office to get more work done and coming home and my baby's asleep already. And I feel terrible. And I said to myself, Tamar, what it's actually telling you is that you have an opportunity to balance. That's literally what it's telling me. And so I say to myself, all right, what I'm going to do is I can leave at 4, get home for 5, spend an hour. And if I need to, whatever I was spending that extra hour at school to do, I could come home and do it when she's gone to bed if it's so direly pressing. But that feeling of guilt is a really checking point to say, what am I trying to balance? It's not to say, I won't do it because I feel this. That's yourself talking to you to say, hey, you're not okay with how things are. Here is a chance to fix it. I usually say to myself, when I stop feeling these emotions is when I know I'm in trouble. When I stop feeling love and care for my patients, when I stop feeling that sensation that it hurts so much, I want to cry. When I stop feeling that guilt, I know that I'm no longer the person that I want to be because I'm not able to sense check myself. And that's dangerous. So welcome those feelings of guilt, and I mean that wholeheartedly. And in that moment, pause to say, all right, why am I feeling guilty? Where shall I balance it? And suppose you say your balance is, you know what, it's work. I need to get a babysitter. That is what I need. Or, okay, Dad, you need to pull the weight for the evening shift. I do the morning shift. It doesn't mean that you're giving more of yourself. So let's not make any mistakes here. It doesn't mean that you need to give more. It means that we need to check to see where the balance needs to be. And that's a really critical piece, because you also need to do it to make it work for you. I remember it was Michelle Obama who was very upset with Barack for going out to work out. And she's like, I want to work out too. You know, you get to work out, and I say with the kids, what kind of life is this? I want fabulousness too. And he said to her, you have to make the time. If you don't go, can't go for you. And she said, all right, how is it that I'm going to get to go? It means that it's not that you're preventing somebody else. How is it that I need to get this? And look at her fabulous arms now. Clearly, she figured it out. And she's still phenomenal doing all of it. We get the same 24 hours in a day. She didn't get more, and we got 16. Okay, I need those arms. So I'm telling you, I'm like, when these pollens are gone, I'm going outside, you see. But think about where the balance lies, and embrace that feeling of fear and guilt, and you're checking your self-worth. Am I worth it? Before you get to the yes, let me prove to myself that I'm worth it. Because if you don't sense check that self, you will just stay in that moment of guilt, and you don't go anywhere. Next week, you're like, oh, I feel terrible. You know, should I have done that? Yes, you should have done it. Do what suits you. Be a little bit selfish. The same 24 hours. Don't forget that. She got it, and she got the arms too. So I'm going to go get some of those arms. You have it, so balance it out. But go back to the point, and if you get to the space where, you know, like, I don't know if I should, the thing that is bothering me, I have a roommate, when we were back in college, and I got a text from her to say, you know, things aren't going so well. I think I have this pain in my knee, but it might be cancer. I'm like, oh, darling, slow down. Send that in like 4 texts from me now. 2 weeks later, she's on hospice. I know she's in a terrible spot. That broke me to pieces. One, because she's the sweetest little angel ever. And 2, I'm like, I know she wasn't prepared for this, because if I'm over here breaking down so much, if I were her, what would I be saying to myself? What are the things I'm going to hurry up and do? Would I literally be saying to myself, I did enough, or I did the things I want? And I can tell you honestly that those answers are still no. There's not for, oh, I want to see the kids grow up, because there's so many dreams that you've put on the table and you didn't do them. So go back to the beginning. If this were it, if I'm given another 3 months, would I be all right with that? Would I say that I genuinely grow? Ask a 90-year-old and see if they won't tell you yes. Ask them. And they will tell you all the things that they wanted to do that they did. So ask that person that you've gone through life, not for time, but for the things they did, not because they got to a specific age. But we can also have that answer now. Any other questions or discussion points that we could explore?
I did have a question, and I did drop it in the chat really quickly, but I know people there's so many great quotes about fear and failure, and I could rattle off a few as well. And those are wonderful. Even one where it says, if mistakes are how we learn, why are people so afraid to make them? Mm-hmm. But what happens when it's just a recurring thing of fear of failure? Like, how do you really battle or go to battle with yourself? I mean, people are praising you and saying you can do this, but you're just like, what strategies do you use?
And so, you know, there's a continuum of where we need to think about failure. I really take this wholeheartedly. When it's recurring, it could be problematic. And the truth is, maybe you alone can't fix that one. One of the things we go back is to why. Why is it? And when you ask that question about the why is it that I'm feeling so fearful all the time? Why is it I can't get over? I try to go all the way back. Is there something that I tried to do that was so traumatic or scarring? Or is it someone else I saw who did that makes me say, okay, I don't want to. I really don't want to. Are you balancing it with another thing that, like, this is an easier way out? Those are some critical questions. Why is not just the activity. It could be that in, you know, when you were 16, you really tried and you're like, well, forget this. Or you saw your mom did it and, you know, she failed terribly, but you have so much respect for what she has. You're like, if she didn't do it, why would I want to do it? So not just the fear itself, but as to why is it coming up? Why can't I get past this point? It's almost the same as, what is it that makes me keep going back in a good way? What is it that makes me keep trying? There is something that anchors you there. And sometimes we don't have the answer to what that is. This question first came up for me when I was preparing to move across the ocean and all sort of things. I'm like, okay, I need something that when fear and doubt gets in the way, I can have an answer that says, why are you doing this? Okay, this is why I'm doing it. And it literally was, it doesn't need to be anything monumental. It was one simple thing. Worked on a trauma unit, and every time a parent would come in to ask me, so what would be the prognosis? Are they going to walk again? My literal answer was, I don't know. I don't know. And I feel like I failed them. I'm like, aren't you the one who is working? Don't you have? And I would cry. I would literally cry. I'm like, why is that my best answer? But when I started to do a little bit more about research, I'm like, oh, I could actually answer this with a little bit of clarity, couldn't I? And every time I would get to a point where I want to go home, I'm failing stats, I can't do this. I just want to go back where I don't have to live in like a shared housing again. Why are you doing this again, Tamar? So the next time a parent asks me, I can say a little bit more than I don't know. That was my reason. So nothing monumental, not because I want to be the first in the family to go to, nothing like that. So go back to yourself. And the reason I'm saying that to you is asking yourself why the fear is only important to you because you get to answer that. It's a very personal question. It's not something you need to share with anybody. Maybe you can ask, you know, is there anything that happened that I don't know about? Use that same strategy. Why do I keep trying? Gosh, Tamar, you failed this NCLEX exam 4 times. I mean, why do you want this so bad? Because people ask you that question because they say, okay, stop, just stop. Move on to something else. It might be the one thing you want to prove to yourself, that I need this to make me me, I am whole. So it's not the bad of fear versus the good of success. It's the why. Literally, it's the why. The same 24 hours I'm talking about, it's a feeling. Like, I have the feeling that, you know, the fear won't overcome me. I know why the fear is there, and then you can move on. I know why I keep going back. I know why I'm still trying. And again, you don't need to look into a dictionary or to the heavens or any celestial beings to get the answer. It needs to be that simple answer that needs to be yours. Last thing I'll say, that when I didn't know that this was it, I didn't know that that was the why, the answer. So sometimes you'll go through and you don't quite know. You know when I know? It was the last day, your defense, when you go to your defense and you're like, everybody cries at the last slide when you say, I want to thank my family and my professors. And that's the very last slide, and you kind of steel yourself. I'm like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. And in the results section, I said, I had a picture of a door that tells me, okay, I was leaving the unit to go off. And I said, one of the things I remember is always telling the parents that I don't know. And I completely broke down. And it was afterwards I said to myself, oh, that's why you were doing this. So sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it's just a little piece. They usually say mental health is gray. It's all gray. We're going to operate in this gray area. And it's true. And that is the gray area, that sometimes you know, sometimes it's just a feeling, but you have to give power and truth to that feeling to say, yeah, I don't quite know what it is, but yeah, I feel it. I feel it in my finger and I feel it in my bones. I have no words for it, but I feel it. And that is where it is. So when you ask yourself about the fear or the success, be very clear here, both of those, and you ask yourself the why, what is it? It might be the feeling of somebody shaming you. It might be that feeling of somebody say, you can do it. Or it might be something very tangible. I want to finish school because my mom didn't. I want to do it so my brothers can look up to me. But you answer that, you keep it to yourself, and that is your fuel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very powerful answer. Thank you.
Any last questions? No. So now I genuinely feel like I've missed out knowing Gwen, because she was clearly a phenomenal woman. And I'm off to Google to see everything about her. Just because I need to be strong for others, but some days you break down yourself, and it's been a truly difficult month asking myself those questions. So don't think for 1 minute I figured it out or know the why or the how, because I still struggle with that. If it were today, would it have been enough? And it's still no. So I thank you for inviting me to share this space with you. And as you go forward, you can kick down a few of the hurdles too. I didn't say that. You can kick down a few of the hurdles, but race towards them and get to that point where you need to get to. And while you're doing it, thrive. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tamar, for your presentation. I know that we were able to take away so many valuable nuggets from that, especially myself, putting myself out there. But yes, thank you so much. So please give her some reactions, put your thoughts in the chat, show her some love for her phenomenal presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Rodney.